Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces past, and I'm homebound. And I need you, and I miss you.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great start to your week so far. Now, Bitcoin did have a beautiful bounce 2 weeks ago off of this 21 exponential. You can see right here, and this is showing us that there was a lot of demand, especially for Bitcoin, once we got down to those levels. And even though we did have it followed by a red candle, the green candle that we are currently putting in is quite large, right? In fact, if we have a look over here, you can see that we did have a beautiful retest out of the falling wedge pattern, but unfortunately we are still stuck in the 61,000 to 71,000 range. However, it could actually get extremely exciting very, very soon, because there is a major catalyst that a lot of people are not anticipating for Bitcoin. I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with the Bitcoin ETFs, but not exactly the ETFs themselves. It has to do with, well, something that these companies are going to have to be, disclosing very soon, and it could be quite massive. So guys, stick around. And also, I wanted to bring you a massive opportunity for the average retail investor. You know, there's always these VCs that are able to get into all these projects before everyone else. They get in at the cheapest possible price, and then sometimes they even end up dumping it right on the retail. Well, it is time to actually have those tables turned, and I think you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video, because I think it's something that a lot of people have been demanding for quite a long time. So make sure you guys stick around. Also, friendly reminder, MetaSignals has been absolutely killing it. If you were in the Discord last week, my goodness, we had an amazing string of wins. And just to let you know, there are only 14 NFTs remaining before price increases, so check that out. If you're not interested in the NFT for lifetime access, they do have the USD pair, and by the way, they're now offering a 14-day free trial, because that is how confident that they are on the product. And also, guys, Levex, $15,000 you can win in the trading competition bonus. Definitely check that out below in the description. So let's first start with the big catalyst. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and this is James Lavish. He was over on Swan Bitcoin. This is what a lot of people are not exactly expecting, but it could be the next major catalyst for Bitcoin.
And so that's kind of where we're at, where you've got a few institutions, a lot of hedge funds are trading it. You've got a few institutions that are starting to get in there. But really, Sam, what I think is going to be the big catalyst is now we're bumping up against that period where the institutions that have bought the ETFs, they have to publicly disclose that. And we're going to start seeing some institutions publicly disclose it. And it's not because, and when they disclose it, that's not going to be like, oh, wow, look, you know, the Cleveland Fireman Fund owns some Bitcoin. That's what it means is, oh, look at all of these institutions and these professional investors that have bought this thing. It's kind of turning where I better do my work on this, because now I'm getting behind. They all own this thing. I don't even know what it is. It's so that risk of buying it has flipped to the risk of not buying it. We're still in the stage, as you know, that people consider this thing in Wall Street and typically across the nation, they consider this thing a risk on asset, and it's going to take a while to change that. But this is the beginning of that. And that's what's really important about it.
So essentially, the risk of not owning Bitcoin could soon be larger, or at least perceived as more risky than not having any allocation to Bitcoin at all, right? So that is something that we've been talking about for quite a long time. Now, I wanted to dive in super quick and have a look at what we're having with this TA. We already talked about this very nice reversal candle over here on the weekly. And as you guys can see, obviously, because at the time that I'm making this video, it is quite early in the week. And you can see right here, we are having a green candle so far as the week is concerned. However, this is a little bit of my issue that I have right here. If we do look at this parallel ascending channel, you can see right here that we are sort of sitting at the top. So, you know, is there a chance for potential rejection? You know, maybe we come down, we retest the 63K area for Bitcoin, even possibly as low, possibly as the 57 to 58, maybe. But as you guys know, once we break out of this area, we are probably going to blow through the previous all-time high, because if we come over here and we have a look, you know, we are doing a very similar situation that we had back here in December of 2020 before this massive blast off. What we're doing is we're essentially consolidating between these two moving averages on the pi cycle. And look at this, we're running out of room here. You can see we're coming very close to the previous highs. And if we do break out of this area, the next touch of this is around 84,000. And if you guys want to see some very interesting confluence, if we actually zoom in here, okay, and we do a Fibonacci retracement, okay, on this top to bottom move, this is really mind-blowing. Look at this, guys. And we pull this out. Well, look at where that next 1.618 comes, right around the $84,500 mark, which perfectly aligns with our, you know, give or take $1,000. So that's pretty much what we're looking for. And for a lot of people who are thinking, you know, oh, like this is as good as it's going to get, guys, look at the CBBI. We're not even close, okay? We're only around 79. We don't even begin to peak until we get around the upper 80s to the 90s. And if you look at the Bitcoin power law, we're only just sitting basically exactly on the line. We don't stay below, you know, below this line for multiple years just to hang out there and get rejected. No, we usually break through with massive moves. And just to mention, at the same time, we are still having the DXY break down. So that's really all I wanted to go over today. There's not too much specifically with Bitcoin, but what I wanted to talk about was a massive opportunity for retail investors. Now, you may have heard about this, guys, but this is a project called Commonwealth, and what they're doing is something extremely unique. So basically, you have a lot of these projects that come out, right? And these VCs, they get in at seed rounds, right? So, you know, they're getting it for, let's just hypothetically say 1 cent, 1 penny, right? And then by the time it comes out, it's already 5 cents. So they've already made a 5x, but now the average investor, you know, they want to try to pump it. So now maybe they make a 2x or 3x, but now these guys have made a 30 to potential 100x, right? And it's honestly pissed a lot of people off. It's created a lot of animosity towards, you know, these VCs, etc. And Commonwealth is actually looking to change this. They're actually allowing retail investors to get in on these early stage investments. And the reason that I'm bringing this up to you is because this is launching on the, well, at least you can get involved on paid ignition on the 22nd and the 23rd of this month. So this is coming up very soon. But as you'll see, I sat down and I had an interview with everybody, and this is what's very interesting, and hear me out. This is why you're going to want to watch this interview. So this is not just simply token allocation or tokens being locked up. They actually have a very unique NFT model. So in the event that you don't want to wait for the lockups or people want to speculate on the projects, you can actually sell your NFTs in part or in whole to other people who want to speculate on your investments. It is a very, very interesting project. It sounds complicated, but I think this is going to be absolutely groundbreaking when it comes to crypto investments, because it's actually going to give some of that power, a slice of the pie, back to the retail. And what do I say on this channel? The best time to get involved in projects is at the earliest stage possible, when there is the least amount of risks, right? So without further ado, guys, I do want to just hop into this interview. Hopefully you guys enjoy this content. Hopefully you find some value out of this. Slap a like if you do. So let's dive in. All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. This is definitely something we've been talking about, we've been hearing about, but obviously for everyone who really doesn't understand exactly what you guys are doing with Commonwealth, you know, maybe you could just give sort of the elevator pitch of what it is that you guys are trying to solve specifically. I know you've been working on this for quite some time, so maybe we could just go over what it is and, you know, what you guys are trying to solve and some of the problems that you saw with maybe some of these other solutions and why you decided to actually work and build on Commonwealth.
So, yeah, my name is Tony Kelly. I've been involved with Commonwealth for, I think, a little over 2 years now. The project's been going for about 2.5 years. And it was originally formed by John in MetaVest and his partners and the folks in MetaVest Capital. The idea behind the product was always about kind of bringing early stage access, early stage venture deals to the retail investor, to a much broader market, and removing a lot of the barriers to entry in their way from being able to get involved in these lucrative early stage deals, but also do it in a kind of fairly scaffolded and kind of safe environment. So, you know, you can go to Commonwealth today and sign up to what's a very slick experience in the app, and you can invest into a fund that has 15 to 20 of the hottest projects in crypto. They've been curated by this kind of panel of global experts in crypto. It's a who's who. of crypto. They're bringing these deals to us. And you can go along with $20 on a debit card or crypto and invest into one of these funds and get an NFT memorializing your percentage ownership of the fund. And yeah, the beauty of it is that it's all non-custodial, it's very audited smart contracts. So the safe as houses, and the whole thing is automated. And the moment the projects kind of have their TGEs and release their tokens, we sell them at a kind of a reasonable rate that's been agreed with the project, so we don't affect the token performance. We sell that for USDC and immediately start returning that to the investors. So it's a nice, easy on-ramp for retail investors to get into early stage access.
So you guys are doing this completely decentralized. So I'm sure the biggest question that most people would ask is, does that mean there's no KYC? Like basically anyone can get involved? Is that how that works?
Yeah, we've taken a kind of novel, I think, approach to what we call legal decentralization, where we're trying to decentralize as fast as possible because that's actually the best route for compliance, believe it or not. So as we progressively decentralize, we're building the kind of various on-ramps, I guess, around the world. But at the same time, we've taken an approach where we're letting people opt in to an extent, but we do discourage anyone from any of the restricted list of countries, from an anti-money laundering point of view, and they have to opt in explicitly, but we don't have any kind of formal KYC. It is possible that some of the exchanges we partner with, or a fiat on-ramp, for example, may require KYC, but Commonwealth currently does not. Okay.
Right. So these projects the projects that you're vetting, how do you said you have a team that goes through them? Because obviously we've had a really big problem in crypto recently. I mean, it's been going on for a while, but rug pulls or pump and dumps or huge allocations to people who got in before. What are you guys putting? What's the process to sort of protect the retail? And also, I was curious. On top of that, how do these projects? Do they reach out to you and then what they allocate? Like maybe they say, okay, here's like 10%. We just want to give that to the public. Is that how you guys work?
John, do you want to take a shot at that one?
Yeah, I'll get that one. Yeah, it's a very good question. Basically, what we're doing is offering an opportunity to retail investors that have absolutely no idea how to get into these good projects that like a A16Z or Dragonfly or these big VCs that have been around for a long time, getting access to. We are offering them this opportunity. So the project will be offering a seed round to all VCs. Commonwealth will be approached by one of the council members. The council members will say, we have invested into, I don't know, project A, let's call it. I mean, I don't want to show any projects, but let's just say Layer Zero, for example. And that council member will then present the project to Commonwealth. Commonwealth will then go and do their own vetting through various different ways. I think, Tony, it's a 2-week process. Is that correct?
It is, John, yeah. And at the same time, the oracles are introducing the project to the wider community as well. So, the investors in the fund get involved in due diligence even at that stage. Yeah.
Yeah. So if, Layer Zero is looking to raise $2 million, for example, and they want to have 20 VCs on their cap table, Commonwealth will then say, okay, we would like to get maybe 1% of that raise. And why would Layer Zero want Commonwealth on the cap table? Because we bring, a whole army of retail investors that will be talking about the project, that will be interested in the project. So we bring something slightly different. A lot of these VCs, they're great investors. They offer a checkbook, but they don't really offer much else. Whereas we bringing like a retail community of, hopefully millions of people at some point. So we're bringing effectively millions of eyeballs to the projects that we invest into.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And lately, even with a lot of the meme coins and stuff, you've seen that it is really about the community. It's almost like the word of mouth in crypto tends to be a little bit stronger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people look at the VCs, but there's almost that sort of like jealousy towards them of, great, these guys get all the good deals. And, the little guy kind of feels like he got left out. So I think that's a really cool thing that you guys are doing as far as that is concerned. So basically, so for example, I know the VCs, they'll have like lockup periods, or something, or vesting schedules. Is this going to differ from project to project, or is it like all tokens are unlocked on day one, or how's that going to work for the retail?
It's a very good question. Like, we've a pretty streamlined process, and we've kind of multiple different types of funds. Like, effectively, what we've built is like a rules engine for spinning up and managing funds. So we plan on, extending the products that we're going to offer. But for now, sorry, what was the question exactly?
Well, I was wondering about like vesting schedules. Are they going to differ
Sorry,
from, yeah, or is it?
yeah, so I mean, right, the way it works right now with the first projects that are vesting in the priceless fund, they all actually have similar terms, just coincidentally. So I think roughly they've got a 3-month cliff, and then they vest linearly over the period. And obviously, we're trying to do in terms of standardizing that kind of VC processes. We're standardizing on due diligence. We're standardizing on the SAFT terms, that will be kind of used by the project. We want to kind of really bring a lot of transparency and standardization to the industry in that sense. But in the early days, we have to concierge the projects on. So we are allowing for different terms for different projects. And we'll see how the first fund goes. It's very much a prototype fund. And we'll see what needs to be refined from there. But yeah, right now we've got projects on different chains from different sectors on different terms. So yeah, we have to be flexible to all comers, right? If it's going to work for everybody, it's going to work for everybody.
Yeah. Is it more of like a first come first serve basis, or like are there individual limits on the investing? Like how do you make sure that it's fair enough that everyone can get like an allocation, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, we've only launched one paid fund to date, and that one, because it was the first fund, we did have a reserved allocation, and after for the first 24 hours, we allowed the original supporters in our community who've been with us for like 2 years plus, to have right first come, first served, right? But they'd right of first refusal from the general public, and we gave them 24-hour access. And they took us up on that offer. And then by the end of the first hour of the public round, it was full. The fund was full. We raised $1 million for the projects in like 25 hours. But as I said, that's a prototype fund. The next fund could be 3 million, 10 million. So we've discussed a couple of different ways of doing allocations, but right now it's basically first come, first served. But because Commonwealth is very much about democratizing access, we put a cap on each individual investor, not in each individual wallet, but each individual investor, up to a maximum of 2% of the fund. So we can guarantee a kind of a fairly wide distribution of investors in each fund. And then in addition, we also plan on launching quite soon the Evergreen Fund, which is a perpetual fund. And that fund will take a slice at, let's say, a reserved allocation in each new fund we spin up. And because it's a perpetual fund, it will always be available for retail investors to come in and either get involved in due diligence for the individual projects, an individual fund, or just casually say, I want exposure to all the assets in the portfolio. So I'll mint an NFT on the Evergreen Fund and I get access to every single fund in Commonwealth. We think that's quite a fair distribution kind of mechanism also.
That's really cool. I like that. It's like having it's like a basket or like an index almost of everything all at once.
Yeah.
So are you going to have to, each individual projects, are you going to have to sort of mint an NFT? Like, for example, if you have this one, you get everything. But if you wanted to just do one of them, you have to mint an NFT for each thing. And then what, the tokens they'll get airdropped, or will they have to be claimed? How's that going to work?
So there's no tokens. It's a fund model. So when you're investing
Okay.
Commonwealth, you're actually investing into a fund, and each fund will be themed. So the first fund we just launched, the Alpha Fund, it's quite a diverse mix, looking at everything from Bitcoin to real world assets to gaming. And that's very much an introductory fund, but it's envisaged later on we might have a themed fund. There might be one on infrastructure, or there might be, I don't know, metaverse, if that's still a thing. The way it works, though, is the fund invests into the project. The community decides after due diligence, the 2-week period John mentioned, if they want the fund to invest into that project. And then everything after that is non-custodial and it's fully automated. So we harvest the tokens from the project when they're ready and we sell them algorithmically. that for USDC, and then the USDC is put straight back into people's wallets or made available for claiming straight away.
Okay.
I think one more
So
piece we
that's
should
so
talk about is actually just the always liquid nature of the NFT, right? We call them slices. It's your slice of the pie. But from the moment you get that slice, you can sell it on the secondary market. You can even split it and sell it in whole or in part on the secondary market. And the royalty fees from those transactions fuel a community fund, which no one invests into. It's the community held treasury, if you like. But that fund is available for the top 50 stakers in the community to invest into any project they see fit. So it's another way for us to kind of help level up investments and help train folks on due diligence while giving the community the means to take some of these risks themselves without, their own investment principle.
If I could just add for everyone listening out there, this might sound quite confusing. I've been part of this project for over 2 years now from day one, and I still get a little bit confused. So for listeners out there, you might be listening to Tony, who's very technical. He's explaining things very well, but it is quite overwhelming to try to take all of this in. But basically, if you just go onto the Commonwealth app, you'll see a list of funds there. It might be a Web3 gaming fund. You're going to have an option to put in $50, $100, $1,000, $10,000, either with your credit card or with crypto. And that fund will invest into, let's call it 20 projects. So it might be $1 million fund. That fund will be a Web3 gaming project fund, and 20 projects will go into that fund. And if it's $1 million fund and you put in $10,000, you will own 1% of that fund. 1% or 10, yeah, 1%. So that's in a nutshell how it works. You basically if you buy into a Web3 gaming fund through Commonwealth, you're effectively getting into 20 early stage seed round projects that pretty much no one else can get access to. That's what this is. So it's giving you early access into projects that big tier 1 VCs are getting into, and now we're offering that to 99% that have never had access to those projects.
And we're giving them the means to do it in a really slick, safe way. I think that's an important aspect of it. If we want to onboard the next billion users to crypto, we have to make this easy to use and remove the infrastructure and the jargon as much as possible,
Right. I mean, that's what I was thinking. If you have something on Solana, you have something on here, and then all these guys have to set up all these different wallets and go through all this hassle. But you're doing that all on the back end. You're taking care of that. And then when they do they decide if they want to cash out? They just get the USDC, or is that could that be at any point? As long as the vesting allows for it to happen.
Look, I'll give you an example. So we launched the priceless fund. I think it was in February, guys, wasn't it? I think it was in February for 3 weeks.
February, yeah.
Within, I think, a week, the second week of the free fund, the first project actually launched their token, and the value of the fund went up $950,000 on its first day on the market. That project is about to finish its vesting period. So I think in about approximately a month's time, all of the folks and that was a particularly different mechanic, no one invested in that fund. We basically gave it away for free. But everybody who owns a slice of that fund, or 1,060 people, will start getting USDC basically in a month's time. And they will keep getting that money until every project has vested every token and the fund is closed, including any resultant profit that comes from that as well.
That actually is really simple.
Just something to add to that, and it's quite important that people understand this. If I'm invested in a couple of funds and you get locked in for 8 years, so the very exciting thing about Commonwealth is you might invest $500 into a Web3 gaming fund on the platform, and 3 weeks later, one of the advisors bring along a really good tier 1 project that everyone's talking about. And they say, okay, we've now put in shrapnel into this Web3 gaming fund, and everyone starts speculating that it's going to do 100x. All of a sudden, you can now go and sell your NFT into this fund, and you might get a 3x or 4x. Whatever the market determines that NFT is worth is, what people will pay for it. So it's not like you're locked in. You don't have to wait for the USDC. People will be trading their slices of the fund on a daily basis.
Wow. That's like a super unique. I actually wish that you know, in the past we had this sooner.
Yeah,
Because
listen,
so,
as Metaverse Capital, there's been loads of times where we've invested in really good projects. You know, we put in $100,000 through Metaverse Capital, and you know, the project launches and our ticket's worth $5 million. You know, it's done like a 50x, which happens all the time. And we kind of sitting around the table going, well, we're not going to go dump the tokens because we don't want to kill the project. And we've only got 10% of our tokens. And then, you know, kind of 3 months later, it's only worth like, you know, 50% of that. And then 3 months later, it's worth, you know, 25% of that again. So there is an opportunity when that project launches, people might want to speculate and think it's going to go higher. And then people will start trading the NFTs. So it's giving people access to exit, and it's also giving people access to enter at a discount. So it's like, you know, it's kind of fair game for both parties.
Yeah.
right. And obviously, I mean, you know, for everyone that's watching, you know, there's always risks to everything. No one can ever guarantee, you know, anything 100%. So, you know, this is no different than investing in something on the secondary market. It's the same
100%.
concept. So, you know, obviously people need to do their own research, even though you guys have done it for them. But I always like to, you know, tell people that just as a disclaimer, you know, nothing is guaranteed.
100%. It's a very very good point you make. All of the due diligence that we do and the council members do will be available for the public to see. I'm correct in saying that, Tony?
100%. Yeah, it's all visible on the platform.
So everything will be 100% transparent. You can go read why people like the project, which red flags popped up. You know, there might be a really good project that ticks all the boxes, and then we might find out that the CMO from that project was a big scammer from another project. So it might get like a big red X from Tony or from myself or from, you know, one of the other council members. So it's going to be quite an in-depth due diligence. And even if the guy that brings the project along to the table and he says, hey guys, like our VCs invest $100,000, we love this project. If it doesn't pass the DD, Commonwealth will not invest into it.
Yeah, I mean, to follow on from that, like the process John mentioned earlier on, where all the projects that are proposed for investment have to come from an oracle, and the oracle has to have closed that investment in that project. That's the minimum level of due diligence. And we take that as a soft signal. But I'll give you an interesting example of some of the projects we're talking to now for inclusion in the Alpha Fund. We went and looked at some of them that had been recommended and have discovered that 4 or 5 other of our oracles had also invested in the same project. So to us, that's another very strong signal, right? It's multiple experts telling you that they've backed this project. But at that point, we're still nowhere close to an investment, right? The oracle has to introduce that through the platform to the community. There's a token gated forum where the investors in the fund get to dig into both the presentations and the due diligence as it's happening. And then when it's proposed for an actual vote for investment, all that due diligence information is visible on the platform for everyone. And of course, due diligence doesn't stop there, right? The community can be monitoring this on an ongoing basis. We plan on inviting the projects in from time to time to engage with the community. And then, you know, I think a big part of our value prop is that ongoing engagement with the portfolio companies where we have a community of investors in your project, so that it's the best social proof you get, are now interacting through the reward system that we've got and promoting the projects on a daily basis. So it's this very virtuous circle that we've got going, I think, between the retail investors, the oracles, the wider community, and the projects. It's a very nice model.
Right. I think transparency is super important. I mean, that's why most people got into crypto in the first place. You know what I mean? Because you can, you know, everything is able to be seen on the blockchain. You don't have to, you know, these banks that are taking your money, lending it out and all this other stuff. No one knows really what's going on in the background. So I like that you added that extra layer where people can basically see your opinions on it. You know, you don't just have the community, they have you, and then you have your other oracles and partners. So it, like you said, it's a nice virtuous circle. So another question really quick was, I guess I'm assuming based on this model, you guys are probably also investing in these. So there's not like any type of a commission deal for the average investor, because they might be wondering that, like, how do you guys make money? You know, like why offer this, you know, to everybody?
really great question. The interesting thing about Commonwealth is that we kind of put our money where our mouth was from day one. Like my first interview, I think John was one of the first people who interviewed me, and the passion he and Kyle and Ian had for Commonwealth as a social good attracted me as much as the technical ambition. And so we've actually kind of founded and run the organization as a DAO from day one. The beautiful thing about our fund model is there's no GPs, there's no general partners creaming the profit off the top. There's no profit-taking entity. 100% of all the returns to the protocol are owned by the community. The community will decide what they happen. 100%. 15% of protocol profit is reserved for the original Genesis NFT holders who supported us from day one. The other 85% of all profit and revenue goes to the community to decide to invest in rewards or more investments or whatever they feel they should do with their profit. Community owned and operated. Awesome. Yeah.
So I think like for me personally, I only have like one more major question, and I think this is also what everyone's probably asking in the comments right now is, okay, this is great. We can get involved. We can get a slice, but what can we do with the actual wealth token itself? WLTH, how does that play a role into the ecosystem? What are some of the advantages and the utility of the token itself?
So we wanted a really simple token economy in the sense that we wanted a single token because we want the infrastructure to recede into the background for the most part. So the single biggest value of the wealth token is that you can stake it for reduced fees. Generally, the way a VC fund works, as John mentioned, they're 8 to 10 years long, and they're taking between 2 and 4% of a management fee every year of that fund. So at the time the fund breaks even, if it ever does, or makes a profit, you've already paid 10 to 20% in fees. Then they take between 20 to 40% of the profit as their carry. So you're already down 50 or 60% if you've managed to hold on to the investment for that long and it hasn't tanked and it's actually made a profit, but you've lost almost 50% of your principal. In Commonwealth, we don't take a fee. We take 10% of the fund at its inception to run the protocol. When the fund, your principal investment is paid back, we repay the management fee. And then and only then do we consider the fund at break even, and we then consider the carry fee. The carry fee starts at 40%, but can be reduced 80% to a mere 10% by staking wealth token. And again, we've done a nice model there where it's all about the retail investor. So what we wanted to do was award people proportionately. So if I have a small investment, I only have to stake a small amount of wealth in order to get my discount. But if you've invested 1 million into a fund, you're going to have to invest and lock up a hell of a lot more wealth to get the same proportionate benefit. And again, we think, we don't want to be, we're not anti-VC or anti-whale by any means, but Commonwealth, it's about retail investors. It's about everybody getting that fair access,
Yeah. I like that. That's really awesome. Unlike, you make more money here, you pay higher taxes. Like it's like kind of like, I guess, it's like more of an even playing ground. It's percentage driven. So, if you got a guy coming in with 500, his percentage is going to be the same as a guy coming in with 500,000, for example. So it's all relative. I like that model. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you can also stake your wealth for governance, of course, as well. And staking in general can qualify you for, as I said, involvement in the community fund, running the community fund, where you literally get to be a VC, right? So, and then we've a very generous reward system. Like we really plow a lot of, it's a very circular economy. We don't extract any profit except for when the community decides to spend something on it. So we put a lot of rewards into promoting those projects and kind of building value that way. Like we're very much, even today, the community runs moderation and support. We've started decentralizing from a very early on stage,
Yeah. Yeah, that's really awesome. Like you said, you started out as a DAO basically. So
yeah, just something to add. Tony's mentioned a couple of times, the Genesis NFT holders and the benefits that they get. And people are probably thinking, oh, well, I'm a bit less here. I wasn't one of the early guys, so I'm not going to get the same benefits. But of course, there are people that, are letting those go. They're obviously not at the same price, but you can buy those on the secondary market if you wanted to get the same benefits those Genesis NFT holders were getting.
Yeah. But I think it's important
Yeah.
that the Genesis NFT, it's not required to operate on the platform or to participate in any of the funds. It's independent in that sense, but it does have packs quite a lot of utility. In addition to obviously, there's obviously the percentage of lifetime profit, but it also comes with a very generous allocation of wealth tokens next week as well at IDO.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So, I mean, I think we covered a lot of ground. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to sort of leave my subscribers with before we went. Is there anything you just want to say before we go?
No, just from my side, like I would be interested, you know, from my side, just to ask you, like, you know, would you use something like Commonwealth? Do you think your friends would use something like Commonwealth? Is it the kind of thing that you think crypto needs? You know, like we get a lot of people saying, like, if only, you know, my sister could use her debit card to invest into crypto every time she buys something, you know, she's buying the wrong thing. Do you think it's the sort of thing that like the space needs?
I absolutely do. That's why I have you guys on the channel because I literally, I've been in this for 8 years, and I remember in the beginning when I was just the little guy starting out. I didn't know how to access any of these. I was hearing about back in 2017 these ICOs doing 1000x's. All these guys are making massive money, and I'm just sitting there not able to get in for this reason or another reason. I didn't know the right person, or I didn't have enough capital. Because the minimum tickets would be like 25 grand. And, most people don't have stuff like that. So, like I said, I think there's almost become a bit of, personally, I've seen this recently, a little bit of animosity against the VCs from the retail. And I think that's why you've seen so much mania over the memes, personally, is because they almost are getting fed up with how come these guys get all the best deals and then we always have to buy secondary. And I think that was sort of that pushback. But I think if you allow them to actually get access early, like what you're doing, then I think that it would really build a lot better community, around this type of investing and these type of ideas. And yeah, I do think it's a good product, and I would use it, and I'm actually going to use it. So I will be using this when you guys, get the launch going. So yeah, I mean, I'm on board, and I know a lot of other people, even just people personally like that I talk to that aren't really that into crypto. They're still learning certain things, and they're really confused. I think that this is a nice entry level for the average person. You're offering to be able to buy with USD, if they choose to, if that's what they want to do. So I think this is a really good product, and I think a lot of people would agree with this. I think you guys are gonna, I would assume, get a lot of good traction, especially through this bull market, as people, because, then the greed sets in. People they start making some money, they want to throw the money around. And I think getting an opportunity to get in, with stuff like this is really going to take off. So yeah, I don't need to tell you guys. I mean, obviously, you've been building it, but I think this is a great project. And that's why I wanted to bring you guys on to, sort of just share with the community, like, here's another alternative. You could just dollar cost average Bitcoin if you want. You could do leverage, and maybe probably get wrecked. You can speculate, or you can, like I said, the best time for me is as early as you could possibly get in, because there's the least amount of risk. Is there risk? Yes, there's always risk. But being able to get in at the ground level, it really helps to reduce those risks. It helps to mitigate it, and you can sleep better at night. I mean, for me personally, So
that's the other advantage of the fund model. Actually, you mentioned, I was delighted when you mentioned earlier on about how are we protecting retail investors, because we are putting a lot of thought and time into building that trust. And sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, no, I was going to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying you were just talking about like building the trust and the transparency, because at first it's like people are scared. I mean, look at all the stuff that happened in crypto with, SBF and FTX, all these exchanges, BlockFi, Celsius. Like, there's been a lot of people are very nervous about things like this. They really are, especially when you have to send your crypto away, or someone is, or they, acting as a custodian. But that's not really how you guys are doing it. You're not really acting like that exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think the way that you guys are doing it is a little better, because you're non-custodial and everything's locked in smart contracts. So as long as those smart contracts are audited. I'm not that smart, so I don't know how you guys do it, if you go through like Certic or something like that. But as long as it's audited and somebody smarter than me, gives it the okay, well, then that's it. It's transparent. So you can't change it.
Yeah. Audited twice, and the last result was a perfect 10 out of 10.
So I thought that was a really awesome concept, guys. I mean, obviously, this is something that I remember when I was first in crypto, as you saw, if you watched the video, you know, I had seen these other guys investing in these ICOs in 2017, making all of this money, and it just felt unfair, right? And that is why I said also in the video that I think you've seen a lot of the people turning to the meme coins, because the meme coins are about community, they're outside of the VC hands, and it feels like, you know, the individual retail investors, the average retail investor actually has that power, but now they are returning some of that back to the average person. So I really think that Commonwealth could be on to something big here, guys. Obviously, nothing on this channel is financial advice, but check it out. It could be very, very interesting and possibly lucrative, you know, if, you know, some of these projects do end up taking off. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Hope you're having an amazing day. If you do want to learn how to trade, don't forget about those LevX bonuses below 15,000 in the competition. Also, they'll match up to $5,000 for a long or short position, depending on whichever one you pick. And you also get 10% back on fees. So pretty incredible. Oh, and not to mention, if you use LevX, you also get very customized, what's the word I'm looking for? So basically, it's exclusive content from me if you use the link below. And you don't even have to trade or anything. You can just sign up for free and you'll get exclusive content when I don't post. So that's it for me, guys. Check these tutorials popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto. Hope you're having an awesome, amazing week. And of course, peace out.